Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah and I am an astrologer and I make videos all about astrology. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing the 5 things that you need to know about this new moon in Cancer taking place on the 28th of June 2022. So stay tuned. But before we dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and click the bell. And if you're interested in a personal reading, you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my Practical Astrology ebooks and merch. All the links will be in the description box below if you're interested there. Now, with that being said, I really do hope that you find this video to be helpful. So, let's do this. Alright, so the first thing you need to know about this new moon in Cancer taking place on the 28th of June 2022 is that it will conjunct the Sun in Cancer at 7 degrees. So the Sun and Moon will both be 7 degrees. And the number 7 in numerology represents things like spiritual truth, intuition, investigation, mysticism, contemplation, introspection, intellect, deep thinking, and being analytical. And the thing about Cancer is that, well, it's a highly intuitive sign. Cancers are known for being psychic and spiritual, though whether they choose to practice their abilities is another story. Essentially, they are great at sensing things, and whatever they feel deep down, they trust it. They follow it, often without question. Therefore, during this new moon in Cancer, consider what your inner guide is communicating. Consider how you're being moved from within, what you're being called toward. Perhaps you contemplate greatly. You take the time to do a lot of introspection, to investigate what lies within. And as you are contemplating, you are setting new intentions. After all, new moons are all about new beginnings and fresh starts. They're about planting new seeds as well as adding new seeds to the ones that have already been planted. New moons give us an opportunity to revisit things related to the sign it's in. And so in the case of Cancer, perhaps family related matters come up, or living situation matters do, or perhaps you revisit emotional situations. You address your emotional security. Now also keep in mind the previous full moon in Cancer, which took place on the 17th of January 2022. Perhaps you were letting go of a few things regarding family and home back then. You were shedding old skin, or maybe things were illuminated regarding care and support, or you experienced great clarity. Or maybe you were releasing an emotional matter, or maybe you concluded some things to do with your sensitivities. Now, I've been journaling during the new moons and full moons. I suggest you do the same. Journaling can help us make sense of our internal world. It's certainly been helping me these last 6 months. It's been really interesting to kind of see the connections. And during the previous full moon in Cancer, I opened up to my therapy group. I let out a lot of emotions and I felt extra sensitive about a group involvement situation. But thankfully, since then, I've been able to make sense of a a few things. I've been able to address my feelings and my emotions, and that's another thing I suppose about journaling. It can help us look within in that way. And by addressing these things, I can move forward with perspective and clarity. Moreover, remember that the beginning of Cancer season marks the day of the summer solstice. So this is for us in the Northern Hemisphere. So we are halfway through 2022 already, which is crazy, mind-blowing. Though I feel like I say that every year. Still, the summer solstice marks the longest day of the year. And then from there, the days gradually get shorter and shorter. And so during this new moon, think about the last 6 months. What have you learned? How have you changed? What's been happening in your life? How have you been doing? Genuinely, how have you been doing? And just take a moment then to go inward and take a moment to breathe out. All right, so let's get into some signs. Let's say this new moon is taking place in your 4th house, so looking at you Aries, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you revisit a family situation, or you set new intentions when it comes to your emotional security, or perhaps you take time to contemplate an emotional or nurturing situation. Maybe you listen to what your intuition is saying regarding a family or housing matter. Now, as someone who has an Aries moon, I've been addressing a few family things quite recently. And I feel a greater sense of emotional security, which is really good. So I can relate to this, and so perhaps the new moon will bring up a few things. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 12th house, so looking at you Leo, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon you revisit a subconscious situation that hinders your progress in some way, or you set new intentions when it comes to your alone time, when it comes to the time that you spend basically in solitude, or maybe you take time to contemplate a spiritual or intuitive matter. Maybe you listen to what your intuition is saying regarding a recharging and relaxation matter, or perhaps you feel quite sensitive regarding your fears and potential weaknesses. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 8th house, so looking at you Sagittarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this new moon, you revisit an intimate or vulnerable situation, or you set new intentions when it comes to an emotional issue that you're experiencing with your partner, or maybe you take time to contemplate a grieving or shared resources situation. Maybe you listen to what your intuition is saying regarding emotional bonding and closeness, or perhaps you feel quite sensitive about a loss of some sort. The second thing you need to know about this new moon in Cancer is that the sun and moon in Cancer will make a square to Jupiter in Aries. And Jupiter in Aries will be 7 degrees as well, meaning this square aspect is very potent and powerful. Still, what does this square between these planets suggest? Well, perhaps during this new moon, we blow things way out of proportion. We take things super personally. We are extra emotional and sensitive. We just make things bigger than what they actually are. Or we might assume that things are about us when they're not. We might be super irritated by other people's preaching, by their forced opinions, by their loud opinions. And we might want to retreat when others come at us aggressively and they claim they know the truth about a situation. It's like, listen to me, I'm right, I know more about this thing than you. And all of this can result in arguments over how we feel. Yet there is a lack of trying to understand where the other person is coming from, how they must be feeling. We may be so caught up in being right that we overlook belonging and protection. Then again, perhaps overprotection occurs, such as us using our emotions to keep others super close or safe, but this limits the other person's choices or their freedom in some way. Or maybe we find it's difficult to get excited because we are clinging to someone or something, or because we are clinging to a past situation even. We're just caught up in these things. Or maybe we feel scattered due to our moods fluctuating more than usual, or due to us being pushed and pulled in all these different directions. So on that note, let's say this new moon is taking place in your first house. So looking at you, Cancer, Sun, Moon and risings. This means Jupiter will be transiting your 10th house. And so as you are setting new intentions to do with your life path and to do with your identity, you also feel extra sensitive and emotional regarding a career or public image situation. Maybe there is something you want to share with the public or within your profession, but others feel irritated or annoyed. Maybe you find it challenging to get excited about your public position because you're clinging to a past event or to a certain situation. Or maybe you feel unsure about the next step within your career. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 9th house. So looking at you, Scorpio, Sun, Moon and risings. This means Jupiter will be transiting your 6th house. And so as you are setting new intentions to do with growth and self-discovery, you also feel extra sensitive and emotional regarding a work or routine situation. Maybe there is something you want to teach your employees, or there's something you want to share regarding your health, but others don't listen, or they take things personally. Maybe you find it difficult to get motivated within your occupation because you're clinging to a person or to a thing. Or maybe you feel like you're being pulled in many directions within work. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 3rd house. So looking at you, Pisces, Sun, Moon and risings. This means Jupiter will be transiting your 2nd house. And so as you are setting new intentions to do with love and creativity, you also feel extra sensitive and emotional regarding a financial or material situation. Maybe you want to share knowledge to do with money, or you want to teach others about self-worth, but others become emotional, they become irritated. Maybe you find it challenging to get pumped about a physical security matter because you're clinging to a certain material item. Or maybe you feel scattered because you don't know what to throw away and what to keep. The third thing you need to know about this new moon in Cancer is that the Sun and Moon in Cancer will BiQuintile Mars in Aries. So whilst we are feeling extra sensitive and we're taking things a lot more personal than usual, as explained in the previous point, well, there is also an opportunity for us to resolve conflict and disagreements. We can use our talents of resolve to create some type of order. Maybe we can empathize with others, or we can offer some kind of support or care, or maybe we can motivate and inspire others on an emotional level. So for example, if you notice a friend or a loved one and they're feeling sad, or they're just feeling a bit upset about something, well, you can be encouraging towards them. You can be supportive. You can be there for them and you can listen, but you can also help them realize that they've got this and they're doing amazing. And if we are caught up in disagreements and arguments during this new moon, maybe we can move forward with insight and perspective. Conflict is going to happen in life and we aren't going to agree with one another 100% of the time. I mean, if we did, maybe that would be kind of weird. We can annoy and irritate each other more than we know, but does that mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater? Perhaps not. Conflict and resolution are essential parts of any relationship. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 3rd house. So looking at you, Taurus, sun, moon, and risings. This means Mars will be transiting your 12th house, and so as you are planting new seeds to do with your communication and education, you can also resolve any conflict or tensions that arise due to the behind the scenes work you've been doing, due to that deep soul searching you've been performing. Yes, you might feel extra emotional about how you come across or about how others speak to you, but you can remind yourself of how amazing you've been doing so far. You can motivate yourself using your mindset, and you can draw from that courageous part of you that comes out when nobody else is looking. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 11th house. So looking at you, Virgo, sun, moon, and risings. This means that Mars will be transiting your 8th house. And so as you are planting new seeds to do with friendships and group involvements and teams, you can also resolve any disagreements or tensions that come up due to the inner transformations you've been going through. Yes, you might feel sensitive about joining in or about being part of a group, but you can remind yourself of how far you've come and that you're doing great. You can draw from your inner warrior and courage. Now, as someone who has a Virgo rising, I can relate to this because I'm wanting to put myself out there more within groups, and I feel very nervous and slightly terrified about it. Even thinking about it makes my stomach turn a little bit. The fourth thing you need to know about this new moon in Cancer is that the sun and moon in Cancer will Sesquinsquare. It's very difficult to say. Sesquinsquare Saturn retrograde in Aquarius during it. Okay, so we might be feeling some tension within groups. We might be feeling misunderstood. We might feel left out, awkward, weird, unusual, as if we are outcasts. And this is so interesting to me because these are feelings I've experienced throughout a lot of my life. And on the day of typing up this script, I realized that I have Cancer in the 11th house along with Saturn in Aquarius in my chart. I am going through my Saturn return as well. I just want to add, still suggesting these awkward feelings within groups. So wanting to be a part of a group, yet feeling uneasy and uncomfortable about it. Just kind of wanting to remain in my little comfort zone, in my little shell, and retreating if anything feels weird. And then I also have the South Node in Cancer in the 11th house, suggesting this likelihood of being babied and taken care of within groups, and this likelihood of retreating from groups due to fears of not being accepted and being very sensitive to other people's opinions and feelings within groups too. Therefore, in my case, I'm learning not to be this helpless baby who needs to be looked after by my friends or by others. In this way, I'm learning to nurture my own emotions, regulate my own emotions. But I digress. During this new moon, perhaps we feel awkward about our emotions and our feelings, or maybe we want our friends and our teams and our allies just to get where we're coming from. But there's a blockage. There's a blockage of some kind here. Perhaps it's about us having to look within ourselves instead of depending on others to do the hard work for us. Or maybe by building strong character from within, we can then experience more valuable and rewarding relationships. We will feel understood, like we are part of something. We will feel like our part matters. So instead of depending on the outside world to accept us, instead of crying about how nobody wants to be our friend, etc., it's about accepting ourselves. It's about being responsible for ourselves. Though even to get to that point, It's very complex, it can be very complicated, and it's not easy. So let's say this new moon is taking place in your 7th house. So looking at you Capricorn, sun, moon, and risings. This means that Saturn will be transiting your 2nd house. And so as you are considering new chapters within your relationships, within your partnerships, you also gradually build upon your self-worth. That way you don't feel as misunderstood by your partners or by your friends or so on. Or even if you do feel misunderstood, it doesn't matter so much. Or maybe you work on your earning potential and security, and as you do, others take notice. They see your dedication and they want to relate to you. They can relate to you. Perhaps they want to even collaborate with you in some way. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 2nd house. So looking at you Gemini, sun, moon, and risings. This means that Saturn will be transiting your 9th house. And so as you are considering new chapters within your financial position, when it comes to your earning potential as well, you are gradually building upon your knowledge and your wisdom. Next thing, others are listening to your message and they resonate. Perhaps they'll look to you as a type of mentor or a teacher of some kind, or maybe you work on your teachings and your publications. And as you do, you notice how your moods impact things. Maybe how you earn money is dependent upon how you're feeling. And the 5th and final thing that you need to know about this new moon in Cancer taking place on the 28th of June 2022 is that the sun and moon in Cancer will semi-sextile Venus in Gemini. And Venus in Gemini will be at 7 degrees, just like the sun and moon. And so again, creating a powerful and potent semi-sextile. Therefore, during this new moon, perhaps some friction is felt within our relationships. Friction regarding communication. Perhaps we don't want to listen, or maybe we are hearing what we want to hear within conversations because, again, we are feeling particularly emotional and sensitive. Maybe certain things people say goes right over our heads because our emotions take over. All logic goes out the window and all we can think about is how someone else made us feel. Oh yes, what you have probably gathered about this new moon is that a lot of emotions are going to come to the surface, especially within our relationships. And the reason why I say this is because of these minor challenging aspects being made to both Venus in Gemini and Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. Now, the BiQuintile to Mars can suggest wanting to sort things out directly. Perhaps this is a new moon whereby which taking some time to reflect on things is a good idea. So before saying that thing, maybe think for a moment, get a sense of how you're feeling, and then consider how you want to communicate that feeling. And also consider who's on the receiving end of your emotional dialogue, so to speak. So on that note, let's say this new moon is taking place in your 10th house. So looking at you Libra, sun, moon, and risings, this means that Venus will be transiting your 9th house. And so as you are setting new intentions to do with your career path and your public image, perhaps you also experience friction within your relationships regarding a travel situation or a legal matter, or maybe all logic goes out the window when it comes to a further training matter because you are feeling extra emotional about something you want to accomplish. Maybe you don't consider your partner's feelings or your loved one's feelings because a religious situation is on your mind. Or let's say this new moon is taking place in your 6th house. So looking at you Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings. This means that Venus will be transiting your 5th house. And so as you are setting new intentions to do with your working life and your daily routines and habits, Perhaps you also experience friction within your relationships regarding a creative situation or a romantic matter, or maybe all logic goes out the window when it comes to a leisure activity situation because you are feeling extra sensitive about your schedule and your time management. Maybe you don't consider your partner's feelings or your loved one's feelings because a dating situation is on your mind. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking about the 5 things that you need to know about this new moon in Cancer taking place on the 28th of June 2022. Now do please let me know if you found this video to be helpful. I would really appreciate that. And as always, let us know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. But with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye. Happy new moon.